Good morning from sunny Nuneaton. This morning I've had to drop my car off for MOT, so I've come up for a little walk around Oaston Road Cemetery in Nuneaton. So I'm going to show you some of the gravestones. As it's nice and quiet, people are not going to think I'm a complete and utter loon for talking to my phone. But have you got any relatives buried in here? It's very nice and neat. It's very, very quiet. So we'll just have a look round, and then I will take some photographs of some of the graves, and I'll post them. You can hear the train going past. So we've got quite a lot of older graves in this section. I must admit, this isn't a cemetery that I know at all, really, because most of my family are all in Bedworth, and in the cemeteries in Bedworth, so that's quite an interesting one there. As a train goes past, that one says, "In loving memory of Richard Train." So, and Elizabeth Train. So there we are, the Train family are near the trains, which is quite strange, really. So we'll just have obviously some of these the graves have not been tended to for quite a long time. I suppose this is a bit of an odd video to do in a cemetery. But, you know, for some people, now this one looks quite ornate. Let's see. Carol is watching. I'm in Oaston Road Cemetery in Nuneaton. So, this one's even got a photograph of the lady Marie Octavia Stanley. Let's have her photograph. Cemeteries are always quite an interesting place, because if you've got a good headstone inscription, it can actually tell you quite a lot about family relationships. So there's one there for the Ortons. So let's see if I can zoom in. George Orton, JP, alderman of this town. So here we are. It's some of them are quite sad, but also the size of the stones and the different sorts of inscriptions on there can tell you about how much money the family had, and maybe their status in society at the time. Not so much now, but when you're looking at the late 1800s and, you know, early 1900s, where people probably didn't have very much money, being able to pay for a large headstone like this would have, you know, that was quite a symbol, I think. There's the Garden of Remembrance down there. It's a very well kept cemetery. So this is the chapel. There's a lot of Nuneaton names. So, this one's interesting. So this one is James Wilkinson, who died at Eastbourne in Sussex. However, he's buried in Nuneaton. So that'd be quite an interesting story to follow up if that's your family. So let's see, who else have we got? So there's a Hatton family over there. Aldridge. So Aldridge, some of these stones are very old. Some of them obviously need a bit of TLC. So let's go down here. Like I said, being out this early in the morning in a cemetery, there's not much chance of meeting somebody else who thinks you lost it because you're talking to your phone. So William Hales, so Thomas Lee and Martha, who died in the Lord at Wood Farm in Stockingford, and he was originally from Cheshire. So, maybe, gravestones they're very important monuments, and they are a good piece of history. So if you're researching your family there and you couldn't find anything about Thomas Lee in Nuneaton, but then you saw that and it said formerly of Cheshire, well, that gives you another clue of where to look next. So I always find the graves fascinating. So I always thought it was because I was a bit strange. Maybe it is, but they do tell lots of tales in their own right, especially sometimes with who's buried with who. Tibbets. And also the graves themselves, the gravestones themselves. Now let's see if I can find one that will help. Now this cemetery is quite good. It's got a large S here, so obviously if you're searching, you find the grave reference, at least you've got a good idea that if it's in the S section. So here's a memorial that I didn't know was here. So, in remembrance, the people of Nuneaton mourn the loss of the men, women and children interred in this grave who were killed in enemy air attacks on the town and whose identity is not known. The 16th and 17th of May 1941. That sort of says quite a lot. Now these look like they're very, well, when I say new, they're less than probably 50 years old, some of these. Now, like I said, I don't really know very much about this cemetery at all. Now when you are looking for graves, you should get, I'll wait for the train to go past, you should get given a grave reference, and to help you find whether there's actually a headstone or not. So somewhere on the actual gravestone should be, or quite a lot of the time, is the name of the monumental mason. So this one even says S26. The name of the monumental mason and sometimes the number. So on here there's AJ, who I'm assuming is the monumental mason, but there doesn't appear to be a reference number. Now I know in Bedworth Cemetery in Coventry Road, if you look on the back of some of the graves, the actual grave reference number is also engraved on there. Now there's an R. This is the R section. So I'm just going to have a look. Right, okay, I've spotted one that could tell me something interesting. Let's have a look. So, alright, so that just says G. Seller & Co. Now, G. Seller & Co. are in Hinckley. Aha! This is D.B. Duval, so that's the undertaker. And it says W275. So I'm going to guess that this is block W, and that would be 275. So then we need to find, yes, so 275, 276, 277, and here is 278. So the gravestones give you clues, especially if you were looking for somebody and there's no headstone. So if you knew it was W279, you'd be able to work out that this was the plot, but there's no headstone there. Now, they don't all have that on, but the newer ones seem to. I think some of the old ones might, but may be worn away. So, oh, there's a picture of Brian Scoffham, known as Bertie. So from that, so here again we've got, that one says S Hill and it says W291. So if you're looking for a specific number, if you can find graves with numbers on, it will help you locate the one that you're looking for. So I can hear like a crossing in the background. So there you are. So yep, nice tour of a cemetery early in the morning, but it is a lovely day, and I'm sure now that cemeteries are open, people will be able to go back to their families. If I see some interesting stones, I shall take some pictures and I shall post them on our Facebook page. I hope this snippet has been useful to know how to locate graves, because I know that's just like something that took me a while to work out because nobody told me about that. I'm going to guess that this is the Z section, and all the names here so far seem to be, they could be Indian or Asian or Nepalese, because we've got links with the Gurkhas. I must say it's not something that I'm very au fait with. And there, Islamic memorial service, so there's a Islamic stone there. So they have some of them have quite small stones with their names very clearly on, which is really nice, and also the born and died dates. So I wouldn't even want to try and pronounce those because I'm sure I would insult somebody, and that is not what I would intend to do. But again, all these things, they can tell you different things about the deceased and about their family. So it's always good to have a good look round, because you never know what you're going to find. So I do like the way over there's one that says Mrs, and that just shows that being Mrs may have been very important to her, or the fact that in the culture and language they use, they could have had male and female names which are the same, which I do know happens in some. I mean, it does in English with Leslie, for example, and at least then you know that's Mrs rather than Mr. So I'm going to stop now because, one, I'm going on too long, but also there's a load of council workmen down there and they might think that I've lost the plot, which would be quite interesting. So thank you for watching. Hope it's been informative, and keep an eye out for some photos that I might put up in a bit. Okay, bye.